Can you share your journey after retirement and how staying engaged has helped you stay connected? Sometimes feeling connected again begins with something small, a familiar routine, a shared moment, or simply feeling included. I'm your host, MS. Today we are joined by Michael Cooper, a retired executive whose post retirement journey reflects the power of staying active, connected, and purpose driven while continuing to make meaningful impact. Can you share a little bit about your journey after retirement?
I started off once I retired. I took some fun classes at a local junior college. I took an art class or two there. The main project I got into was when we went up to a cottage we have in Michigan. I became very active in the Historical Society. I got onto the board of directors there, and my wife and I took over the ghost town of Central. It had been kept standing for the last. There were 11 buildings left out of over 1,000. And they had been kept standing, but really not much had been done to it. They just made sure snow didn't pile up, make them fall down. So we started putting on some shows to raise money. There was not a great budget within the society. We put on a jazz festival up there.
Oh, how lovely.
We got artists to donate items for a silent auction. We charged $5 or $10 admission. But on a summer evening, we had 4 or 5 groups playing jazz. And just to sit there in a parking lot at this old ghost town,
Okay.
really a very pleasant way to spend a summer evening.
All right.
For several years, we ended up raising about $65,000 doing it. So this allowed us to put new roofs on 4 of the buildings.
Lovely.
We got other people interested in supporting things. We got a group of relatives whose ancestors had worked at Central to come and paint and re-side our visitor center. That was an expensive and very welcome donation that they gave to us. We have been able to get groups of active volunteers from different parts of the country. A group of teachers from Wisconsin who had the summer off, who were good in building things. So they took over and completely refinished, redid the sheetrock in one of our houses, which we now can rent out and earn a little money for things.
Nice.
We had a group of people from the Ann Arbor area, are retirees from various occupations. They have come in and they have sheetrocked. We didn't assign this, but they saw a porch was falling down and in very bad shape. They just tore the whole porch off and rebuilt it completely, put in handicap ramps,
Nice.
upgraded the doors and the windows so that we didn't have the problem with wasps that we've had before. Bringing new energy to this old project. It's been around, it was abandoned. The mine closed in 1898. Some of the buildings as hunting camps for a few years after that. But really, there's been no care of the buildings.
Right.
So basically, they either fell down or were pillaged to build cabins somewhere else. And the lumber was just taken and used elsewhere. We have 11 buildings left, and we are trying to use 3 of them as museums. We're designing a new museum right now for the geology and the mining history of the area.
Nice.
We have 3 of them that we can rent out, and so we can bring in money. We are not doing the jazz festival anymore, so we're looking for other ways to raise money. We've got some younger people coming in, and they may have the energy to start doing that again.
Nice.
But that was basically what I have done in retirement while up there in northern Michigan.
How lovely.
We do some of the more traditional things like book clubs, various yoga classes, things like that, dinner parties with friends.
Sure.
But the volunteer effort for the Historical Society has been our major effort. And we've made a lot of friends that way, made new connections.
Right. This seems like amazing things to do for this society. Sometimes familiar routines, small communities, everyday participation quietly help one feel connected again. And often it's the smallest moments of participation and belonging that help people reconnect with others. So, what was the hardest part of this whole experience or journey? It seems like you've been engaged for a couple of years here.
The hardest part,
Or the most enjoyable?
has been raising the funds. Luckily, we had someone who had put on music festivals as a charitable fundraiser for other groups.
Right.
So he came over and set us up the first couple of years. Where do you get the bands? Where do you get a sound system? Where do you get a stage to put up?
Right.
Things like that. So he taught us all of that.
No.
That would have been very difficult to do on our own, I think. The enjoyable part was spending the money, hiring the contractors or getting the volunteers to actually have an impact on the buildings and see what we could do there.
Right.
So we've come a long ways. I'm beginning to back out from it. I've had some health issues, so I'm not taking as active a role there. But I'm still helping this new group of younger people, more recent retirees, who are doing a wonderful job, new ideas for things, and continuing where we left off and advancing with it.
So, in your experience, how did staying engaged with this project has helped you or your partner's mood, energy, and overall health, in your opinion?
Kept us active, for one thing. Part of the work we did there that I didn't mention, there is about a mile-long hiking trail. The area is about 130 acres of this town. And so we have a mile and a half long hiking trail that goes through there. But keeping active that way, we have made contracts with other groups to come in and use bulldozers, really straighten out the trail.
I see.
So meeting new people, learning about the maintenance of these 100-year-old buildings, that teaches me new things. It helps me taking care of my own little cottage up there. I've met some of the carpenters and the handymen up there. And just either learning new skills or taking skills that I developed as an executive in industry and applying those in a new situation.
How has this experience changed you personally, if something comes to mind?
It has made me a lot more open. Before this, I'd hung around with summer residents up there, like I was just coming up there for the summer. They tend to be retired executives who can afford a second home up there.
Right.
Working with the local contractors, local people to run the bulldozer, finding out how much they know, how worthwhile they are, learning some of their stories and things that they know about the district that are not written down in all of the books. Learning some of their hobbies and enjoy some of their hobbies with them. It's been a real eye-opener. I didn't realize I would have as much in common with these working men up there. They're having a good retirement, just like I am, and we're trying to bring the history alive for everybody.
This is quite incredible. If there is one simple thing that you would want to recommend for other industry retirees or others who are looking at the next phase of their life, what would that be?
Well, I would say anything you get involved in, don't try and do it alone. Do it with teamwork, either other retirees, other people who are still working, or the people you end up working with. In my case, the tourists who come through our visitor center. I spend a day a week being a docent there, but getting to know them. What is their interest in the ghost town? I've taken some of these people on private tours. I had things of interest to them that weren't really part of the ghost town. But once they were interested and I had time to help them, good times were had.
Sounds like an amazing experience. How do you see the real power of engagement in the second phase of life?
You have contracts to write a grant on a certain date. You have to have the write-ups done by then.
Absolutely.
So it keeps you active in that way and meeting these deadlines. The other thing is seeing the value of teamwork. Other people who have different skills than you have, finding someone who can write grants. If your project is something that you can get funds from government agencies or other organizations, finding people who can either teach you how to do that or do it for you. Finding people who are good at organizing volunteers, if that's not your strength. The people who have these skills and learning some of them yourself keeps you very young.
This has been really insightful, and thank you for sharing this with us. And I have certainly enjoyed the conversation. Thank you so much. Because staying connected isn't optional, it shapes how we live, thrive in the second phase of life. Thank you for joining on Engagement and Connected Lives. Until next time.